22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are listening to Black Westchester Magazine presents People Before Politics Radio every Sunday 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. I'm your host, AJ Woodson, along with Black by popular demand, Damon K. Jones in the place to be.
Yes, yes, yes.
I think co-host Dr. Robert Baskerville is on his way. We have a couple of guests coming through today. We have Reverend Dr. Stephen Pogue, the pastor of Greater Centennial A.M.E. Zion Church in Mount Vernon. And we're supposed to have the Mount Vernon City Clerk, George Brown, coming in the building, airing out, sharing a couple of things with the people. So we have a full show. We're going to try to get it in as always and do what we do. Shout out to it's been a busy couple of days. Damon and myself on Friday were asked to come into career day for Mount Vernon High School. It was a beautiful thing. I always enjoy interacting with children of all ages. I get to speak to them about some stuff that everybody else don't really speak to them about, and they don't normally hear, and drop some science on them, and I enjoy that. So we did. This is my second year. They asked us to come back, and Damon came this year. And then Saturday we went to the National Association of Social Workers annual meeting down in Manhattan. And I'm gonna just tell you, you go into meetings like that is very. I enjoy those kind of meetings because they hit things on a whole nother level. The way they was just dropping it, and dealing with a lot of the stuff we deal with, and it just helps you sharpen your skills to be able to continue to do what you do. You gotta, no matter what it is you do, like I was telling them kids, you gotta work on it every day. You gotta always, build your skills every day. So that goes for us too. So, this was like a sharpening skill sharpening exercise. It was, for me, at least that's what it was. What you think, Dave?
Yeah, I think that, thank you, Sandy.
Yes.
For inviting us and having us come down, and a daughter taught the class, and it was a very informational class. We are humbled by having that class because it makes you look at what you're doing, makes you look at what your community is doing, and it makes it, and even the county or nation, state, in evaluating progress, and looking at the overall outcome that you want, and how do you put those measures, and how do you measure your outcome, and how do you measure if what you're doing, right, is working or not. And I really think that it was a good program, and how to put it together, so you could, explain to people, the outcomes and the need and the way you get to those outcomes, and how do you measure that that what you're doing is successful. I think that was it was a wonderful class. It was definitely a wonderful class.
Absolutely, and I want to give a shout out to State Senator George Latimer. He was supposed to appear last week, but the Democrats held over the budget vote, fighting for the getting the raise the age through, and I saw a bunch of posts from Jared Rice and other Democrats saying they won. They got the above the raise the age over. So at least I'm happy for that. They fought for that. You know what I'm saying? They used their whatever and stuck together and held that down.
Well, I believe that was it was tied into the budget or something.
Well,
somehow.
yeah, they wouldn't vote for the budget unless this
Right.
part they
Good.
attached
Good, but see,
But then it was like, Como was ready to send everybody home. The Republicans was ready to leave, was be on call. The Democrats like, we're not going nowhere into the society, and they held it in. So,
so what is the difference between what they did in Albany to what the city council does to the mayor?
Explain exactly. Wait.
If they refuse to leave and refuse to sign the budget,
Right.
because they wanted a piece of legislation to pass, or vice versa.
I was gonna say, I think it happened vice versa. That's the thing. That was
Right,
the
right,
problem.
or vice versa. So I mean, like, what's the difference?
I mean, it's politics then.
It's right. It's politics.
I'm not gonna sign this. Like, if this is my only, you need my signature, and that's my only bargaining point. But I'm gonna need this to go through. I'm not signing this until you make this go through and add that
Right.
to it. I mean, and that's the way politics. I mean, that's the way
Right,
they play
right.
the game
Because
for years.
they passed the bill. The raise the age bill was passed.
Right.
It just needed the signature of the governor,
Okay.
and the governor was kicking the can down the road on the signature. So when it came to the budget, they said, okay, we got to have a quick pro quo here. If you want us to sign this budget, right, then you have to sign the bill.
Right.
So they didn't vote and pass the budget until he signed the bill.
Right.
So what is the difference, right?
I mean, you make a very good point.
And actually what's going on in Civil Hall. You know the difference is? Right? There's civility in that, because that's what checks and balances are supposed to do.
Right.
But when it comes to the point that you become disrespectful, and when you retaliate against each other, right? And when people that have nothing to do with it are collateral damage in this, and their families affected, and the community is affected, that's when we have a problem. The checks and balances is part. Come on in, Bob. The checks and balances.
Kaboom! Guess who stepped up in the room?
Yes, sir. Dr. Bob Baskerville is here. Dr. Bob Baskerville. What up, man?
You see, I'm prepared for I got my scarf on. That's why I was delayed. I left the house, and I was like, let me go back in the house and get my scarf, even though it don't match.
Now, now, Bob, so I don't know if you heard Damon's last question. I was congratulating State Senator George Latimer and the Democrats for holding out because they weren't going to pass the budget until Cuomo signed raise the age, and they evidently got their way. So
Right.
Damon's question was, so how much different is that than what's going on in City Hall, where if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm not going to do what you want me to do.
Well,
You see his face? He's like,
it's not all that different, and that's the whole theory of democratic politics.
Right,
that whoever has the dominant force, the majority, is at least entitled to set the parameters for the negotiation. But it's typical that if no one has decisive force, then people got to strike a compromise.
Right.
Both parties act like they both have a winning hand.
Right.
But they don't.
Right.
I mean, no one can do it alone. And so, listen, I mean, prudence requires that there be some sort of compromise, but not one that just simply ignores the interests and will of the people. And really, we do empower our legislators and our elected officials to make those kind of judgments on our behalf, but they really are supposed to be making those judgments. Of course, we could, when compromises are not reached, the question that invariably occurs is who or what is the source of the problem? And having said that, I think there's a need to compromise. I don't think we can maintain that both parties are equally culpable.
Right.
If you were to ask me, just so I'm very clear about it, I think on certain matters there can be no compromise because the law simply requires that our elected officials conduct themselves in a certain way. And around the question of residency and several of the other most pivotal...
That's the difference.
Right.
The law.
The law. That is the difference.
That's one of the answers to you. That the law. That is one of the answers.
Right. I mean, it would be similar. I don't know if if the state legislature tried to make a compromise whereby they were essentially giving away the rights, if you will, constitutionally enshrined rights, I'd say that, something's wrong and both parties need to continue to fight.
Well, I'm moving along real quick because we can get a lot of stuff in there. So another story that was going on this week, Black Westchester covered part of it, was the and we got a lot of responses to this one story, was the Spring Valley mayor being back in court for an impeachment trial. It seemed to bring up a lot of comments from residents in Mount Vernon who will say they are following this closely to see what it would take to do something like that in Mount Vernon. And then one Mount Vernon resident was like, "Hey, we better pay attention. They're giving us the playbook." So evidently people are watching this situation to see how it plays out. I don't know if it applies, but some people feel like the mayor has done things with this mayor. This mayor is a Boy Scout compared to Mayor Thomas. This what some of the Mount Vernon residents were saying in the comment section.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the Journal News has reported some very disturbing news on how the city lawyer has signed checks. I mean, look, my question is where does the oversight come from? When you have, this is not his first 100 days. This is not his first 90 days. This is not, because look, before the first 100 days, Congress has asked an investigation in the relationship of the relationship between the Trump, huh? Tell him to come down Tucker Hole Road and make a right on Sawmill River Road.
He said, "Come down Tucker Hole Road and make a right on Sawmill River Road." Yes.
Like he's going into Yonkers.
Yes.
All right. So it wasn't even 90 days before Congress and the Senate was asking for an investigation on the relationship between Donald, the Trump campaign, and people in the Trump campaign, and possibly the administration, relationship with Russia and people from Russia. We've been dealing with violations of the city charter, with violations of the city code of conduct for a whole year now, right? And the city council have just attempted to even question it, after people came before them to actually give them the information on what's going on. And now LOHUD has picked up on the actual discrepancies and questionable unethical acts and possibly illegal acts of those in the Thomas administration. I mean, we could talk about this. I mean, is this fake news that LoHUD is talking about? Because I mean, it's nothing new. What people have been saying at the city council meetings for the last 12 to 15 months. So now, when you get these people that call in here, right, and it's mostly black folks that call in the radio show and come at us, right, and they don't go to city council meetings, they don't go to Board of Estimate meetings, they don't go to different meetings, and then they want to. We got a call on the line?
Yeah.
All right, then they want to question what we're saying, but now that mainstream media, right, or mainstream Westchester media is beginning to write about it, right? Now, why don't they call? Who wrote that article?
John Bandler.
Why don't they call John Bandler? Why hasn't the mayor called John Bandler fake news?
No. Actually, so since I wrote the article and they said Damon Jones was fake news, since John Bandler wrote it, they got to call Ernie Garcia fake news.
Right, or just call LoHUD fake news. See, this is what they are allowed to get away with. But when the white structure, because basically, it's a white owned, it's USA Today.
Yeah.
Right. So let the mayor put out a statement calling USA Today fake news.
That's national too.
Right. No, but see, and then see what the people. But they're not gonna dare to do that. Will Joseph Spezio get on Facebook and go at LoHUD? He wouldn't dare to do that. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a disrespectful attitude. It's a disrespectful nature. And it's disrespectful of even black business.
I'm going to say something real quick, and we're going to go to this caller. I think it's a little bit even more than that. To make that analogy, John Bandler would have to be black. You understand? Like he's not going after anybody white. Like he hasn't come at nobody white. You know what I'm saying?
No, and he won't.
So that's what I'm saying. So there's a bad analogy on that level because he'd have to go after. Let me get this call in real quick, and then we have.
Yes, caller. State your name, where you're from, please.
Sergeant James Scott from the Connecticut State Police.
Hey, brother. I want everybody to know this is my brother here, man. Sergeant James Scott from the Connecticut Police. I asked him to call in. I really want him to come down, but I understand it's his weekend, and the man's he's a hard-working black man up there in Connecticut, man, and he needs time with his family. But I wanted to call in because this Tuesday, I believe, is the deadline for people to sign up for the Connecticut State Police test. This Tuesday's a deadline, and I want him to call in just to give people the information and talk about the job of being a Connecticut State Trooper. So welcome, my brother. Welcome, man.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to call in. If your listeners give me 5 minutes, and I'll tell them 5 great things about our process that makes it unique in comparison to a lot of other processes. First and foremost, there is no application fee. I say again, there is no fee to apply. So even if you sign up and don't show up, you haven't lost anything. We accept the applications online, and the website to go to is das.ct.gov, das.ct.gov. And on the home screen, you will see a link for the law enforcement recruiting website. You just click on that link. It'll ask you to create a profile, and you can apply for the exam. In addition to there being no application cost, there's no degree requirement. So if you've gone to college, that's great. If you haven't, it doesn't exclude you from applying for this opportunity. In addition to that, you do not have to be a resident of Connecticut to apply. You only have to establish residency before you graduate from the academy. And I'm living proof of that. I grew up in the White Plains area, and when I got hired, I didn't establish residency in Connecticut until about halfway through the academy. In addition to that, another unique thing about the process is there is no age limit on the back end. You have to be a minimum of 20 to take the exam, 21 to get hired, but there is no age cutoff. So people who may be looking for a career change, or maybe someone that did 20 years in the military, you're not excluded from applying. And another good thing is that when you apply for state trooper, you can cross-file for protective services, which encompasses conservation officer, motor vehicle inspector, Department of Mental Health Police, and 4 different state universities that have police departments. So essentially, you're taking one exam for free, and you're applying to 8 different state law enforcement agencies.
That's great. That's great.
It's nice, yeah.
Hey, brother Jimmy, man, tell what about the benefits, overtime, and the other perks that they will get if they take the test and get hired? What are the different perks on the job and the benefits that they get?
Absolutely. The starting pay is $40,000. When you get out the academy, your pay goes to $55,000. Everybody starts on uniform patrol. The patrol personnel work 5 consecutive days, and then you're off for 3 consecutive days. And some of the advantages are every state trooper has a take-home car, so you have no transportation expense to and from work. Wow. Because you're essentially on duty as soon as you leave your house. The troopers that are on patrol work a 9-hour day, and 1 hour that day is essentially paid travel time. We get paid for our half-hour commute to work and a half-hour to go home. And at the end of your shift, you don't have to come back in and change over or turn your car back in. You drive home. All of our uniforms and equipment are issued to you, and the state also dry cleans your uniforms for you, so you have no uniform expenses.
That's great. That's great. What about health benefits?
You have state health benefits, which you will keep when you retire for you and your family. In fact, while you're employed, it will cost you more for your benefits if you don't go to the doctor.
Right.
We do have a health plan that requires us to do your periodic checkups for doctor and dentist and optical.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. That's good. Now, brother, you came out from corrections in Rikers Island. Is that right?
Yes, I worked on Rikers Island for 2 years, and at the time I took several exams in New York, and no one would give me the opportunity, and no one would explain to me why. Mm-hmm. So I essentially took my show on the road. So I encourage all young people, if you have any interest in law enforcement or criminal justice, broaden your scope. Don't only look locally, and don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone, even if it means to move to an adjacent state.
Right.
I just want to, this is AJ Woodson, editor-in-chief of Black Westchester. I just wanted to reiterate something. So from what I'm hearing you saying, it's important, even after you get the job, to continue to take those tests as they're available, because other opportunities may arise.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Some of the unique things about Connecticut in particular, in Connecticut we don't have any county government, so there is no equivalent to county police or sheriff's patrol. So there's local and city police, and then state police. And about 1/3 of Connecticut are small towns that don't have their own police department. So the state police would be their primary police department.
Right.
So not everybody is exclusively working on the highways.
Right. And for people that's listening in, and a reminder, there's no age limit to this test. So people can take the test at any age as long as you pass that agility in the test, correct? Correct.
Another good thing about the state police is we are the largest police force in the state of Connecticut, and as a result of that, we have a host of specialized units. Mm-hmm. Anything that might interest you, you can do in addition to patrol. I mean, we have a task force for pretty much everything from guns, drugs, gangs, cybercrime, financial crime, terrorism, major crime investigators, large canine unit, aviation, dive team, bomb team, SWAT team. You name it, we have that specialty.
I stepped out to bring our next guest in, but So I don't know if you've already asked, and again, if you did, you say it again. When is the test? Is there a certain time they get to sign up beforehand, or is there anything?
Yes, the application's closed this coming Tuesday, April 11th at 1 p.m., so you have to sign up online prior to then. Okay. The website is das.ct.gov. Again, das.ct.gov. And if you give me one more moment, I'll give our office number in case anybody has trouble navigating the site. I
appreciate that. And I also, while you're doing that, when you know about these things in advance, if you can send it to us, me or Damon at Black Westchester, we try to post these kind of postings because sometimes this information does not trickle down to our people, you know, in the community. You know what I'm saying? These opportunities, you know, I posted a thing about park rangers. There's a couple of people on my block like, park ranger, but one of them just went and took the test. They never knew that was a thing. They didn't know there was a thing as a park ranger. Like, I'm serious. I'm like, you know, so, you know, man, this comes out every year. So we try to, you know, put some of the stuff on the site so it gets to our audience that doesn't always, you know, get this information.
So, hey Jimmy,
absolutely.
The test is given what, every 3 years? What is it,
Yes, our test is given every 2 to 3 years. The last test was 2014.
Okay. All right, good, man.
And I'll give you listeners
go ahead,
I'm going to give the phone number to our office.
Yes,
it's area code 203-630-8070, 203-630-8070. Even if any of your listeners decide not to sign up for the test, but they have general law enforcement questions or questions about career planning, feel free to give me a call. I'm always accessible.
All right. Hey, someone left a message on my Facebook page. They asked a question: does the person have to be either former law enforcement or in law enforcement?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And there's no college requirement.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. So y'all young brothers and sisters, man, that's on the block doing nothing. You better take this test. You better get on that website and sign, at least sign up for the test. It's free. It's not costing you anything. You can do it from your cell phone, iPad, laptop, whatever you want to do it. Sign up for the test. We need more young brothers and sisters to get in this this job that they call law enforcement. You know, you want to stop police brutality, then you be a part of it, and you be the person that can stop it, because you'll be the one on the street. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Jimmy, man. This is my little brother. Love him to death, man. Love what he's doing up in Connecticut and reaching out to people, coming across state lines to get people to take the test from the Westchester area. He's from Greenburgh, White Plains. Went to school with him. Woodlands graduate. You know, proud of this young brother. So thank you again, brother.
Thank you very much.
And we'll talk, man, because we got to get you down to the show.
Absolutely.
You know, and we got to get you down to the show when we do the whole black law enforcement thing, and have you come and sit down with the panel.
And close
absolutely. It. Thank you for your time.
And if you ever have anything you need to get the word out about, just hit Damon and we got you.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Good night.
You too, now.
You too, brother.
So I had stepped out, and then you see a gentleman has stepped up in the room. This is Reverend Dr. Stephen W. Pogue, pastor of Greater Centennial A.M.E. Zion Church. Your mic is on now. My pastor, and we welcome him here because one thing I want to say first off, we
I know you ain't give him a hand clap, man.
Man, how you making him feel like, yo?
He don't give you a hand
already,
clap.
Man. Listen, Pastor, we understand you're non-violent, brother. Turn off the cameras for a minute, AJ.
There you go. There you go.
So I mean, I was trying to get you something before I did that. Which is, we've invited a lot of. Now we've been very critical of black clergy as a whole, especially black clergy in Mount Vernon, with all the things that have gone on in Mount Vernon, with not speaking up on certain topics and being visibly absent. We've been very big critics on that. We've invited several black clergy to the show for 3 years, with the exception of Reverend Moraine, who was running for office. And no disrespect to him, but I mean, he came because he was running for office. You understand what I'm saying? You know, Q came, she was running, she's not in Mount Vernon, though. You know, we haven't had a lot of black clergy actually come to the show and talk to the people. So for that, and this is where the applause is going to come in. I applaud you for coming and taking your time to come to the show. I just want to say that, you know, first and foremost.
Thank you for having me to be able to share with you this evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're on, for everybody, we're on Facebook Live. In addition to all the other ways, I am actually sharing it to your page now.
Right, please, and everybody that's listening, please share it on your page. You know, please hit the share button. You know, please hit the share button if you want. Ken Bright, Caitlin Gleason, Vincent Riggins, Pat Jackson, and everybody else that's listening. Please hit the share button on your page, and you can also catch us on. We live on Twitter. Damon K Jones at Damon K Jones on Twitter, and what is this? Pinterest? What is that one? What's that one? Pinterest? I think that's what they call it. Well, we huh?
Yeah, something like that. Pinterest.
Yeah, we live on that too.
We live on everything.
we
just live.
We just live all over the place, man.
I just shared it to your page. You might have to approve it though for it to show up on your page. I don't know. You can sign in all your social media there, so you can talk to people in the whole nine.
Okay.
The whole interactive experience. Wow, too late for the question. It was about the last to the. Oh, you already asked that.
Well, yeah, there's no residency. Well, there's no residency to take the test.
Callers, we're not taking no callers. We're not gonna take no callers for at least a half hour. So
right.
So if you're on Facebook, you can type in the answer, but we're not going to take any callers right now for the next half an hour.
Right. I think one thing we forgot to mention: there's no residency to take the test, but you have to become a resident by the end of the academy.
Oh, okay.
Now,
okay,
and
okay.
I bet you one thing.
You
That
ain't-
won't be up in dispute. All right?
No, it's not in dispute because see that's the whole thing. You know, I mean, there's laws, right?
There's laws.
There's rules and regulations, right? So, I mean, we forgot to ask the question, but Jimmy would have said it, right? Because I know, because I've asked him, you know, for other people, and the whole thing is, you know, residency. Why did they ask for residency? What's the importance around residency? Because that makes you a shareholder, right, in the community. That makes you part of the community. So if there's rules and regulations in your job, to have to be a resident, right, you should at least respect that, you know, and become a resident or lose your job. You have the choice. You know, you have the choice. You shouldn't violate that, because then that's disrespectful, not only to the law itself, but disrespectful to the people that live in that residence.
I just want to say too. So on Pastor's page, I see it's on there, but it says I shared live video. You have to click the words live video, and the video pops up. It's not just on the page. You have to click the words live video, and you can watch the show there.
Pastor got some secret Facebook
Yeah.
security on his joint. You just ain't putting nothing on the pastor's page.
It's right there.
Oh, it is on yours? Okay,
it's right there.
Okay, so it is showing on yours.
You just ain't
I
putting nothing on the pastor's page.
I want to give a
That's
shout out
right.
also to my former pastor. I just saw your page, Bishop George Crenshaw, who is now bishop. Now was my former pastor in Georgia, and he preached today at Centennial. So I want to give him a shout out real quick. So one of the questions now going into Pastor Poe, one of the things I want to do first and foremost, we like to clear up stuff. We have a community that, and the politicians sometimes prey on this, they're not always informed, sometimes misinformed. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of times people are arguing things and they don't really understand what they're arguing. And one of the biggest things that I hear any time we talk about church or a pastor running for office, like when Moraine was running, is there's a separation between church and state.
Correct.
And a lot of people, it means that means that no pastor should be involved in politics, and that is not exactly what my reading of it is. So I figured since we do have a pastor here, let me see if you can break that down for the people. What is that? What is that separation of church and state?
At the founding of the country, it was necessary, as we fought for freedom and to come to America and be free, that the state would not get involved in church affairs. And it was very important to those who were coming that the state, the government, would not then regulate the church.
Right.
It was never meant to say the church should not be involved in the affairs that is going on in the community, in the state, and in the national government. So it's never been meant that the church should not ever have a say. As we look at civil rights movement and all of those things, you have to remember that all of those movements started in the church to come against some politics one way or the other. So it's not about the church never having a say in politics.
Right. Because I just hear that as the argument. That was definitely a big argument when, I was helping Mulrain set up his social media. I didn't work his campaign. I just helped him set it up. And a lot of people, when I mentioned that or they heard that, it was like, oh, man, I don't know about no pastors running for office. It's supposed to be a church separation between church and state. And I've heard Bishop Edwards try to explain it a few times, but I think it fell on deaf ears because I still hear a lot of the same people saying that. I know you had a perception. We were talking about this last night, Bob.
Right. I think just as importantly as preventing the state from meddling in affairs of any one particular church, the doctrine of separation of church and state was designed to prevent the establishment of a national church of the kind that we see in the Church of England, where the Anglican Church is the official church of Great Britain, and that is what initially led to the kind of religious persecution that occurred in Western Europe and eventually led to the efforts of the so-called pilgrims to seek the opportunity for greater religious freedom by coming to the United States. And so what they wanted to prevent when they got to the United States was a replication of the same process whereby a newly emerging government selects one of the many religions that people brought with them over here as the official religion, and therefore setting up all the other religions to have a minor status, possibly even for further persecution and things like that. So,
absolutely.
So, and I wanted to point out that, you know what, if we look back in African American history, not only does the church play a very pivotal role through its activities outside the government proper, but in a couple of instances, some of the foremost political leaders of the 20th century were pastors. And probably the best known example of this is Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was the pastor of Abyssinia, right?
Yes.
Following his father. And more recently, Floyd Flake. So, listen, being a pastor per se does not disqualify one for running for office, and you can make a perfectly good leader, just like being a secularist does not in any way guarantee that you'll be an effective leader. The real test is the one's moral vision.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Just real quick, we got City Clerk George Brown just stepped in the room because I know you see another face in here, and we're going to be talking to him shortly after. I just wanted to, let everybody know, for those that didn't know who that is. Pastor Poe, well, I know Damon has a handful of questions, so he's sitting over there.
No, just go ahead, man.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
So now, I've had the pleasure, again, I said this is my pastor, so what a lot of people don't, a lot of people have just been very critical of you in particular, of not speaking. He don't speak up, this, that, and other. And, you and I have talked a lot, so I do know a lot more than a lot of other people know. Why is it that you explain why you're not speaking up on every situation? I know we talked about that.
You can't fight every dog and cat fight. You just can't. You'll be speaking up all the time, especially in the climate that we have in Mount Vernon. You always have an opinion on one thing or the other. But in many of the issues, we've tried to work some things behind the scenes to see if we can get some peace or some agreement on some things that have not always worked, and sometimes they have worked. But I think as clergy, I'm not the leader of any clergy group. I'm just a pastor in the city of Mount Vernon. And so it is difficult to be able to sometimes get people to come together to agree on anything. And so I don't think the clergy was absolutely silent. I think there were some things we probably could have done a little bit better and a little bit sooner in some instances.
Well, I know one of the things. Well, here goes. So sometime in December 2015, January 2016, Richard Thomas, Mayor Richard Thomas, either just before he got sworn in or just after, had Police Commissioner Robert Kelly and present with him. And this is still on. You can go to your site and pull up the archives. And he basically was touting the skill set of Robert Kelly. And he said something that to me was very disturbing that I pulled out. He said, I trusted, he said, when you get to know Robert Kelly, you will understand why I trusted him as I trusted the Lord. And I said that day after he got fired, I hope he trusted the Lord a little more than he trusted Robert Kelly. And then I looked to the back, and I looked at your face, and like Reverend Crenshaw and Reverend Rouse, I can kind of read some things on your face. And you didn't say anything, but I did see your face when that comment was made. And we talked about that, so I'm just like...
Yeah, listen, that was his comment. I don't think I would have ever made that comment. And I think he was just hyping the moment or whatever.
Right.
And he said it
hyperbole.
Said it before he even realized he said it. Because when you trust in the Lord, you're not worried about what's going to happen.
That's right.
You know the Lord is always going to be there for you. And so I think, he misspoke. I know he probably wishes he can take that comment back.
And I bring that up, and to set up a path. Like, so then, at some point, I don't know what the relationship was. I guess he had let you know that he was already a member of the church before you had got there, or whatever, and said you were his pastor. And then, y'all had some conversations and stuff. And then it was just like, I know I had a conversation with you, and I said, have you been able to, reach the mayor? And you said depends on what day it is. We talking. So, a lot of people felt like he took advantage of the black clergy because he told several other pastors he was joining their church during the campaign trail, and after being taken advantage of, y'all still were quiet. You understand what I'm saying? And it was like, and I know that you said, while you kind of have his ear, you were trying to work on him from that end. While you know what I'm saying, and you were trying to give him a chance. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people really were trying to give him a chance. And, I know we talked about that, if you want to speak a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I mean, if he was telling other pastors that, they were his pastors, I don't know anything about that. From the time I came to Greater Centennial and met Richard Thomas, he said he was a member of Greater Centennial. I checked the rolls. He definitely was on the roll of Greater Centennial before I got there. So I've always treated him as one of my members because he was on the roll of the church when I got there. And as far as going to other churches or joining other churches, he's never said that to me. He's always said I was his pastor, and I've always went with that.
I think, when we, and I say we because we all have a vested interest in the prosperity and the upliftment of the Mount Vernon community. When we have to see, Mount Vernon should be the Mecca for black people throughout Westchester County. It should be it should be that shining star in the light where people can come to and patronage our businesses. When we do not see us grow like other cities grow, when our children are aware that their city, because when we spoke at the high school,
we spoke yesterday,
Friday at the high school, the kids were very aware of the lack of services, the lack of businesses, that they had to go outside of the
We
city.
ain't even got an Applebee's. Like,
Right,
They was
right,
upset about that.
Right. But I called that 4 years ago. We needed an Applebee's. But the whole thing is, as adults, we have to accept the responsibility. So now when we have governmental hiccups, the best way to put it, because we have a pastor on the show, so we have to change how we act on the show.
I already
Be
began
yourself.
censoring myself.
Be yourself.
I gotta tell you, man.
Be yourself.
You got my better angel.
But when we have these things,
Yeah.
and it's allowed. Like before you came on the show, we were talking. Like, look, Trump hasn't been in office, right?
79 days. Or something.
79 days in office, and they're already and the House and the Senate is already like, yo, we have to investigate his relationship with Russia.
Correct.
Right? Now, Mayor Thomas has been in office over a year, and the city council,
Going on 16 months. Yeah.
right, is just getting to the point is we have to look into the relationships and the money that this man is getting to do it. See, because it's like there has to be checks and balances, and without and you have to have the checks and balances without being retaliatory, without being without trying to use your power. If you can't get it any other way, you use your power to suppress some people that have nothing to do with it, or some people that's related to other people.
Yep.
So where's the humanity, value, or where's the respect and humanity in the city government? Because I watched the press conference and I get the different points, but I think what I didn't hear from the pastors was the humanity part, because people have suffered the last 12 years because they may disagree with elected officials in City Hall, right? And we have the right, to speak our mind, but we should not be attacked, and we should not, have our jobs held over our head because we disagree. And I'll be 100. Even though you got 190 cops with guns, they're scared. You have a whole police department that's scared of the mayor's office. That will do whatever the mayor does say, even though it's illegal and just inhuman. So when you have city workers that are actually walking on eggshells, because if they turn left or turn right too quick, they get fired. So, how do we as a community, address that?
So let me first off say, as a pastor in the Mount Vernon community, I'm on the side of right. So I'm not on the side of an individual or a group of people.
Right.
I'm on the side of right.
Right.
And I'm always going to protect right. I believe that's my job. I believe that's what I should do. That's what I should stand up to do, to protect right. And as we looked at all of these things that were going on, as we had started this journey, because the mayor had a clergy breakfast end of December, and some of the clergy were in the room. The mayor began to talk about some of his challenges that he was having with city council and others trying to get some things done. And so we as the clergy said, okay, we hear you. Let us look on the other side of this thing to see what city council has to say. And so we met with the city council. We a group of clergy, met with the city council. The city council shared with us their issues that they had with the mayor's office. And then we met with the comptroller. And the comptroller shared with us her issues that she had with the mayor's office. And then we called all of them together in the same room, which nobody thought could be done.
Which hadn't been done.
And it hadn't been done. And so to get all of them in the room to really think about how we can move the city forward was the impetus of the meeting. It wasn't a meeting to twist anybody's arm. It wasn't a meeting to get anybody to agree to something that that we wanted them to agree with. We had spirited and open conversation about these particular issues that we thought were important to the citizens of Mount Vernon. It's important that we get Memorial Field done. It's important that we get those things done. It's important that we have a cable contract in the city of Mount Vernon. And they made some headway, we thought, in that meeting about those things that were important, because the citizens of Mount Vernon should be able to enjoy the space that we have in Mount Vernon, and to be able to enjoy it in a real way. And it's only going to happen when everybody works together, pushing in the same direction, trying to reach the same goal. Now, you can have differences. I just don't think you need to be disagreeable in public and make everything a fight. And so city council can't say no to everything, and the mayor can't get his way on everything. And so I think there has to be a balance to make sure that the citizens, it can't be about these individuals fighting one another, because, as you say, the students see that as well. The students and the children, they see, well, wait a minute, they fighting in City Hall. Why can't I fight in high school? And so it becomes important for us to say, listen, we have to set those examples that we, the people, elected you to be a good example of how we should move forward. And no city worker should feel like their job is being, touted in front of them, or, if they move wrong, if they say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, in an instant their job will be gone. We shouldn't have a police department that is afraid to do their job because they want to keep their job. So we have to be able to be in a place where we are moving with fair governance among our city council members, among the mayor, and among the comptroller. And I think there's enough blame to go around for everybody. I don't think
you 100% right.
Is,
no, you 100%
scot
right.
free on this. I think everybody has their own blame in this, and I think each of them, if they really took time to think about it, would be able to point out their own wrong in the situation. So I do believe that there should be able to go to work free of retaliation, being able to speak your mind in a government that's supposed to be free, and that's something that should happen. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Am I on? You on now?
Yeah. I know I'm not here for this section, but being that you mentioned City Council, the Controller, and the Mayor's office, I believe I can expound on some of the things because I have some historical knowledge. Historically speaking, the City Council and the Mayor's office and the Controller's office has always had difficulties coming to decisions. This is nothing new. It is being personified. But the Davis administration with the Controller and the City Council, even the Blackwood administration, if you got the history of these things, you realize this is just the way government works.
But it wasn't, the fight wasn't, one of the things that they called out at the meeting was the public perception of the fight being fought on social media.
Well,
you didn't have that.
Well, social media wasn't there then.
That's absolutely correct. Social media wasn't fair, and wasn't around at that time. But also, I mean, historically speaking, when you get someone that comes from a body, and I just got to just call it out, I can't sugarcoat it. The expectations is so great. Our mayor comes from the city council. He knows how they think. He knows how to get things through.
And that's one of my personal pet peeves.
Right.
If anybody should know, he's one of the few mayors who served as city council before. So if anybody should know the relationship with the city council and the mayor and how to navigate those water better than anybody else, it should be him. I mean, that's a personal conversation. Him and
Johanna Edwards, Councilman Edwards, always said
it should come from the city council. Right?
The mayor should come from the city council.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, this administration has proved that. Has brought questions to that, but the whole thing is George is right, is that when we talk about this, we talk like he did, like Trump. Trump never came in. He never been a politician in administration. So him going into the office, he's taking his business world sense and using it and he's finding out that that doesn't work, right? But here's someone that's came from the city council, understand how the mechanism works, and then becomes mayor and turns on the actual mechanism that was used when he was city council. So we have to look at that, but we also need the city council to be real too. I mean, because there are laws in the books that they need to adhere by, for checks and balances. There should be checks and balances. Albany just had checks and balances. They held out signing for the budget until the governor put his signature on raise the age. But it wasn't, an all-out Bloods and Crip war up in Albany, to govern. We should expect as citizens, as people, as taxpayers, we should expect the same thing.
Well, you're absolutely correct. One of the differences is that when you have a gentleman's agreement, in Albany they had a gentleman's agreement. Mm-hmm. If I get this, then we will give you that, and we'll give you what you need. That same agreement was on the table in a committee meeting in December. The city council says, if you want something, we can't give it to you now in this current budget year because it would increase the taxes. You can get it in January. Just come and ask for it. And that has not happened. That just did not happen. The planning commission was told that she could get some people. The building commission was told that they can get people. The council did not want to raise the taxes in the previous year to get all those jobs in 2016. It's just, and there's money. There is money available to reach certain goals and requests, but they have to come. It's just like very, very simple. And I don't mean to make anyone look little when I say this. It's just like we have children, and if you have a child and you take your child shopping and you say, all right now, son, you can get this coat, but you can get these sneakers, but you're not going to get the most expensive sneakers, but you're going to get a good pair. And you have a limit to what you can spend, and you let them do that, and you will honor their word as long as your son or your child falls in the line with what you require. But when you come back and you say, well, I don't just want the Jordans, I want the most expensive sneaker in the store, regardless of the name. Well, that's not the deal, then you can't honor that. We can all get to the promised land. We can all get exactly what we need. Again, we have to sit down and we have to be honorable. Honorable. We have to let our yeas be yeas and our nays be nays. And then people like Pastor Pogue, we have to make them keep us all to the grid. If you say yay, then that's what it's supposed to be. If you say nay, then that's what it's supposed to be.
And that's what I wanted to ask Pastor while he's sitting there. And I don't know how much time you have, but now you sat and you've watched, and I know you've been paying attention because we talked. So you've been watching the situation for 15, 16 months now. You've had your conversations. Where do we go from? Like, I just want to hear you. What do you think? What do you see? Because I know I've had conversations where I've just been frustrated. Like I really don't even know what to do sometimes.
It's interesting because I believe that the city council, the mayor's office, and the comptroller really want the best for Mount Vernon. The question is, how do you get there? Right. And I think that's where they vehemently disagree with one another on how to get there. And then I think sometimes it's personal. It's not about the citizens of Mount Vernon. It becomes about me getting my way or you getting your way, and I'm not going to let you get your way, and you're not going to let me get my way. And then it becomes personal. And then when it becomes personal, there's no way to bridge that gap. That we can never forget about the citizens who are going to suffer because of a personal infight. And I think that some of them just don't like each other. Well, but you can have disagreements, you can disagree, but you have to find a place where we can compromise on some things. And that I understand that in politics it's always going to be a fight, but the fight has to end somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's got to either go 15 rounds or 12 rounds. But at the end, somebody has to say, okay, here's the way forward. And I'm hoping that the city of Mount Vernon, the government of Mount Vernon, can see that we need to move forward, and we need to move forward in a way in which the people are going to benefit from what happens in Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon, as Damon said, is a mecca. It's a great city. There's a whole bunch of great things that can happen in the city of Mount Vernon. But you can't ask people to come to the city of Mount Vernon where the taxes are high, and there's infighting and there's all of these things going on, and say this is a great place to live.
Right.
Even though we have train stations and easy commutes to the city and
Right.
all of those wonderful things that should draw people. All of those things should draw people to the city. It should draw businesses to the city. But like you said, we don't have a major restaurant chain in the city of Mount Vernon. We got plenty of McDonald's and Burger Kings and Dunkin' Donuts and all
no way
those
to
other
make an
things.
entertainment dollar, period.
Right.
Like,
Right.
And so we need to be able to bring some businesses that are going to do some great things in the city of Mount Vernon. And we have space. We just got to figure out how to court them to come to the city, but they got to see that this city is ready to do it.
Right.
We have a caller on the line. You are on the People Before Politics radio show. Please state your name and your purpose of calling.
Hi, it's Caitlin Gleason from the Mount Vernon Public Library. How are you?
Hey, Caitlin,
Hey,
how are you?
Caitlin, how are you?
Very good. First of all, I want to thank Pastor Pogue because he's one of the first people to welcome me into his church when I was running for library trustee. He's probably one of the most honest and down-to-earth people that I've had the pleasure of dealing with here in the city of Mount Vernon.
Well, thank you. I'll pay you for that later.
Well, I just want to state I respect you very much. I respect the fact that you had the courage to stand in between city council, mayor, and the comptroller. I had a few questions, and this is all coming from a good place. My one question was, there was a press conference last week, and I was curious what the original purpose of the press conference was, because I got confused on the message that was coming from that.
The original purpose is we were going to have the press conference shortly after we've had the joint meeting, and getting everybody the summary of that meeting and getting everybody to agree that that's what we said in the meeting became a little challenging. So time went on and went on and went on and went on, and the concerned clergy felt like we can't just let this go because time is slipping by, and then once again we're not saying anything. So we had a meeting that really wouldn't have done anything if we didn't say anything. So the original purpose would have been absolutely more impactful if it would have happened right after that meeting, because then we would maybe not have had some of the public infighting that happened shortly after the meeting. And so right after we had the agreement, we should have had the press conference, because then it was broken on both sides.
Right.
It wasn't broken on one side, it was broken on both sides. And so we still wanted to remind the council, the mayor, and the comptroller that we have these 7 commitments from you, and we still expect you to live up to them.
Okay, I can understand that. And again, like I said, I appreciate your position in the whole thing. But sometimes the mayor ends up doing things that unfortunately goes against the city charter, which is the law of the land, at least in the city of Mount Vernon. So can you speak on that a bit?
I'm not as versed in the city charter as others are. I've heard those claims that, some of the things he's done is against the city charter. And if they are, I think we just need to make sure that we hold them accountable, that the law is the law is the law is the law is the law. One of the things we talked about in the meeting that we had was all of these lawsuits going back and forth, that our tax dollars are going to fight one another. So the mayor sues the council sues the mayor, they suing each other, and guess who's paying the bill? We're paying the bill.
Right.
And
Costing us a lot of money.
So it's some of that is saying, hey, y'all stop that too, because that just doesn't make any sense. To fight each other is easy just to come and agree. So we're fighting over what the city charter actually says, and we're the ones that pay the bill for a judge to interpret what the city council says for us instead of interpreting ourselves. So I have an issue that we're spending tax dollars to interpret the city charter when we don't need to do that. We need to sit down and agree and have a conversation.
Well, I think the problem. See, the problem with that.
Competent council.
Well, no, it's competent council, but also, when you get to the point where they're suing back and forth, basically on one hand is that they're protecting themselves, because right now there's about 10 city employees that's suing the city, based on the city's violation of its own charter, policy, and code. So I mean, it has to one branch of government has to protect itself, because they're getting ready to be dragged into a lawsuit that the other branch of government has violated. So we will continue to have this circle, right, going on, because you can't, you can't come to a positive conclusion if you don't start on truth. You can't.
Absolutely.
I believe that's true too, and I think that it's not those who have been done wrong suing that I think is the problem. I think it's the problem where when the council and the mayor sue each other for stuff they can agree on if they took the time to do it.
Well, that too.
And then they have the judge say that they're going to rule on it because it's clear in the charter. It's clear in their charter, and then nothing gets done after that. So like you got your answer from the judge already, and the judge said there's no need for y'all are coming. In the beginning of, like, a lot of people didn't read that, and it's on Black Westchester. The beginning pages, the judge was basically how you would talk to two kids about how you govern, like this. I mean, she was like really talking down, like how it was embarrassing the way how that was written.
And that's the problem. It's embarrassing for the city of Mount Vernon.
Right.
When you can sit down and have conversation.
Right.
Yeah, but I want to be just clear, Reverend Poe, that the solution for no longer being embarrassed is not for everyone to act like to turn a blind eye to what's going on.
Absolutely
We
not.
need a conclusive resolution, and I have to say that
Very good point.
the mayor has done his best to muddy the water, so to speak, in his continuous misrepresentation, firstly, of what the city charter actually requires of the various branches of government, and then on top of that, the court's ruling. Because when the court issued his ruling in April of last year, maybe it was July, I think, the mayor lost. There were 6 issues that were up for contestation, and the mayor lost 5 out of them. And then had the nerve to tell all the people in the city of Mount Vernon that the court has upheld the executive authority. You're a liar, Mayor. Mayor Thomas, you're lying to everyone. And because he's only making it more difficult for people to determine truth from falsehood.
Right.
And so everyone's got to dig in.
Absolutely.
Everyone's got to dig in, and the matter needs to be resolved. For one, while I appreciate the black church, the church, period, or any forces in the city, trying to play the job of honest broker and find a way to resolve these problems, the city council, no outside force can reconcile violations of law except that they be rectified. And apparently, the mayor is unwilling to accept the judgment and advice of those, whether they be in court or whether they be more informal advisors, that you're violating the law, Mayor. Get it right and let's move forward. He has persisted in this line, and it seems quite clear why. It's clear to me. It's clear to everyone who's, at least a lot of us who are around the campaign. The mayor is refusing to comply with the law because he is paying Joe Spezio back for his illegal support, financial support of the mayor's campaign. The mayor broke campaign laws and continues to do so. We need that legal issue resolved, and then we will move forward.
And y'all thought I was going to bring it up.
Like we cannot avoid this.
Everybody thought I was going to say that.
Listen, I want
Pastor Poe was looking for the angry black man.
Look.
Where he come from?
He's like, wait a minute.
This mayor up in Spring Valley, apparently he's up on impeachment charges because he's accused of misusing city funds by driving the vehicle when he was not authorized to.
Right. That's crazy. So he's being impeached, right? But
yes.
But that's peanuts.
Peanuts
to what the violations of the city charter has been going on for the last 12 months. Exactly. They've been impeaching that man just for driving a car. But yet Uzi, the former DPW commissioner
He's
takes
no
the car to
longer He's no longer formal. His name just went back up on the
all right. Well,
And-
now
and
the
they back with
current
the IDA too. So
right takes the car out of the state and gets into an accident, and nothing happens. Nothing happens to him. Someone's house gets knocked down. That's update on taxes. That submitted the architectural work, the designs. That the insurance company sent the letter that they were going to pay to rebuild, and the city knocks it down.
13 months.
The city
We got
knocks it
houses- we got
down,
houses
but
staying there for 10 years.
nothing happens. But it's just not a question of the accountability of the city government. We also have to look at the county and state. Are they turning a blind eye because this is a black city and they really just don't give a shit? I mean, I'm just being honest because look what's going on in Spring Valley. They're not having it. And they brought the chief of police, in Largemont or other state, got his behind. They're not having it, but they allow the ignorance, right, and the nigger business to go on in City Hall because we're a black government, and nobody will come in and save us. Right? When our elected officials use their power, and I'm not just saying Richie, I'm saying all of them. All of them.
Some of the stuff does predate him, but he's.
But see, this has been a continuation
Right.
for the last 30 or 40 years in Mount Vernon. This has been a continuation.
It's crazy.
And Mount Vernon has continued to be the dumping ground, by the county and state. And this is part of the condition that we have to fight. Because everybody say, okay, we want to get rid of the poor people, right? Systematically, we can't send them nowhere because nobody will take them. They will put them in Mount Vernon. Not saying poor people is a problem, right? Not saying that, but they don't give us
Then they cut the services.
the funds and the services to go along with. They've taken away probation. They've taken away parole. They've taken away all the services that is needed. Now I said before, the young lady Barty that killed her baby, she was under CPS supervision. So why didn't CPS see that she was an unfit mother or something was wrong with her? You could see on TV that she has some problems. You can see that. But that is the continuation on how they deal with Mount Vernon, and we as a people have to say enough is enough. Not just for City Hall, but to Astorino or whoever's going to be county exec, to the county legislators, and to Governor Cuomo. Don't come in here looking for our vote, right? And you don't give us the proper funding and money that we need to deal with the 30% of Westchester's total families that live on social services in a 4x4 square mile radius. That's why black folks ain't care about Hillary. It's only 3% in Chappaqua.
Right.
You understand? You won't come up in here and
I
talk
keep
about
saying that's
what
what-
you're
that's
doing
what
for us.
you
You don't
help
even know us.
Right.
So I mean, I think it has to be a point, Pastor, where we all have to say to all levels of government that you cannot continue to do Mount Vernon the way it is, and it's not a Democrat-Republican thing because we're run by Democrats, and they have co-signed on this pimping of our city, and the political process itself needs to change. That's the only way we're going to change this city. We only got 4x4 square miles, and we can't take care of that because everybody's pimping us.
I believe that I agree with most of what you said. And all levels of government need to be accountable for what happens in the city of Mount Vernon. Because once again, I do believe that Mount Vernon is a great city.
It is.
And has the potential of being a very great city. And so I agree with that everybody has to be accountable. And so just for the record, I heard the question about Joe Spezio, and so I don't want to skirt that question.
We wasn't expecting you to skirt it.
I said if I did, it was going to come back again. I've heard all of those accusations. I've heard all of those things. And once again, I'm always on the side of right. Mm-hmm. And if those things are absolutely 1,000% true, then we need to produce whatever we need to produce to make those things come to light so they can be exposed. And once exposed, then we can deal with them in whatever way we need to deal with them. I don't know Joe Spezio. I've met him one time in my life. So I can't tell you if he's a good guy, bad guy, whatever guy. I don't know if he's pulling strings behind the curtain or not. But I've heard those things, as I'm sure most of the citizens of Mount Vernon have heard them. And I think that whoever needs to produce whatever they need to produce to be able to say, yeah, this is what happened, and this is why some things are happening and they're not going right. So then once they're exposed, we can deal with them.
Can I just quick question, real quick. First off, Sam Rivers wanted to let you know that Bob is keeping it 100. Keep it up. Caitlin Gleason said her battery died, but before she let you go, she wanted to know if you were helping with the police commissioner's search, and if so, where are we with that?
I am on the Public Safety Commission, which is working to find candidates to present to the mayor, or find a candidate to present to the mayor for the police commissioner job of the city of Mount Vernon. We have started a few interviews on that. We have some resumes that we're going through, and hopefully one of the commitments that was made that we'll have a candidate for the police commissioner in the next 4 months. I don't know if we'll hit that timeline, but I think we may be close in hitting that timeline.
Right, and I do want to transition into George and his, when he came here to talk about, is there anything I didn't ask you that you definitely wanted to cover, any message you wanted to get out, anything that,
I just want to say that just because the clergy are not always speaking out front doesn't mean that we're not working. And I think the impetus was that we weren't doing anything. And I think
that had been called out.
Right, and so I think some of it was we were trying to do some things behind the scenes because we really felt like if we can work some things behind the scenes, then maybe some things in front of the scenes will get better. Mm-hmm. And we're still hoping that that is the case. We're still hoping that the council and the comptroller and the mayor's office can still come together and find a way forward. And I think that's very important. I mean, as you know, there's going to be city council elections coming up in the city of Mount Vernon, which I think are going to be very, very important for the direction and the future direction of the city.
The controller's up too, right?
The controller's up as well. And so I think it's going to be very important election time as we get ready to move. And I think as we move forward, it is probably better when you see everybody trying to work together. Like I said, you're not going to agree on every point. Right, and as George pointed out, it just won't be government if you agree on everything.
Right.
It just won't be. You're supposed to have some healthy debate and some healthy tension. But when it's unhealthy, that makes everything look bad. And then it becomes magnified. And then, you know, everywhere you go, people say, oh, Mount Vernon, what's going on? Oh, man, Mount Vernon, there's a lot going on over there. You know, what about there's some positive things happen? Let's learn how to highlight the positives so we can move forward.
Absolutely. And you're definitely welcome to stay as long as you want. We're going to get into George Brown real quick. Just shout out to a couple of people tuned in. We didn't do that. D. Wilson, Tanya Perrott, Brenda L. Crump as always, Brooke Jones, Peter J. Robinson Jr., Dwayne Brown, Tanya Van Normal, Caitlin Gleason, who called in, Samuel Rivers, David Duarte.
Yeah. Najib Isaac.
Okay.
Russell Johnson, Trish Carter, Vincent Riggins, Kent Bright,
Maisha Sarah,
you call D. Wilson, right?
Yeah.
D. Wilson.
Trish Carter, Pat Jackson, Vincent Riggins, and
everybody, if you're watching, click the share button, please.
Yeah, we thank everybody.
If you're watching, click the share button.
Like I said, the Sunday you can be doing anything else. We thank you. You engage in these conversations with us as people before politics. From Black Westchester Magazine. We thank Pastor Pogue for taking his time to come
Thank you so much for having us. Thank y'all for having me. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you, Pastor Pogue.
And look, this is an open door.
Yeah, open door.
Now I've told you this personally. Now I'm saying this on the air. It's an open door. You know, things need to be talked about. You need to say some stuff it's open door. So just
Absolutely.
The show not that bad, man. See, people don't want to come on. People don't want to come on the show,
They
man.
were nice to me because I was a pastor. If I come too often, they gonna take off their nice hats.
Yo, Pastor, I'm gonna tell you. You better listen. Me and AJ were talking last night, man. I had to say, no, don't do that, brother. So yeah.
If I come and get too comfortable, they'll take off their nice hat. But it was absolutely a pleasure.
Thank you,
being
brother.
Here.
We
God bless
appreciate
y'all, and thank y'all for what y'all
sir.
continue to do for the community and for our people. It's so important. We need people to continue to just speak truth to power, even if there's some disagreements. We can work those out as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have
Pastor
two
Paul.
things real quick. We have the Board of Elections, the school board elections coming up, trustees. I know you had Meet the Candidate type forum last year. Is Centennial doing that?
Yes, I'll get you that date. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head, but we are doing the Meet the Candidate forum again this year. I think the school board election is extremely important. I think it's very, very, very important that we get out and vote on the school board election, and then get to one of these forums, because Centennial is not the only place having the forum.
We have both sets of candidates on here the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I think it's really, really important that you get to hear
how do we
those candidates.
How do we energize the South Side to come out for school board elections?
They have to understand that it's important for them just as well as it's important for the North Side.
Right.
That, matter of fact, it may be even more important for them than it is for the other side, because some of the changes may affect what happens there more than anywhere else. And I'm one who truly believes that it doesn't make a difference what school you go to.
Right.
The education should still be quality.
That's right.
And no matter where you find yourself, north side, south side, wherever you are, you have to have quality education. But you have to put people in place that understands our schools. You can't have people in place that send their kids to private school and then say they want to have some kind of investment in what happens in public schools in Mount Vernon. Mm-hmm. How does that work? If you really want to be invested, put your kids in public school. My kids go to Mount Vernon High School and Pennington, so my kids are in Mount Vernon public schools, because I don't believe I can fix the system being outside the system. I got to make sure that I know what's happening in the system, so then you can work to make some of these changes. So you can't have your kids somewhere else and say, let's take the metal detectors out of school. You can't. We're not there. We haven't done any gang prevention. We haven't done any violence prevention. We just can't take the metal detectors out of the school because they don't have them where your kids go to school.
The last thing I want to say, this is on a personal note, we all talked various in depth about the retaliation of the administration, and when it was my turn, and they were coming after me pretty hard. Two people in particular had my back. It was Pastor Pogue, who was willing to come to the house and let the family know that the stuff being said about the house was not true, and Reverend Wheeler, who was ready to march in City Hall with a whole bunch of people and let them know that it was not going to be acceptable if they mess with that with the residents or retaliation against me. So I mean, personally, and I'm just saying, I appreciate both of y'all, because both of y'all came out. We're ready to move if I needed y'all to move, like in a major way, to have my back. It ended up not being necessary though, but I personally appreciate that.
Once again, I thank y'all for having me, and God bless you all.
Bless you, brother.
Hope to be back soon.
Yeah, man. Anytime, man. The doors is open. The doors is open. Yes. We need some prayer on this show.
Especially me, man.
Get a little fire here, so maybe I need to come early and just pray before y'all start.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's also good to see the city clerk.
Yes, sir. We
also
got the
a member
clerk
of Greater Centennial, and thank y'all. And have a good evening.
Well, Reverend, you're not leaving, are you?
Absolutely, I am.
I would hope you would hang around for a few minutes. I mean, they're going to ask me questions. You and I haven't had a dialogue about certain things, which we have to have our own personal dialogue.
Absolutely.
So maybe some of the things, I don't know, the questions that come up, could be beneficial. Being I am the record keeper of the city, and we do have a historical background of how things have gone in the past, and generally, even if they are not charter mandated, a lot of times past practice would mandate how we would do business. We had some things come up. I don't know if you made your transition yet, AJ.
Well, we there, so we.
Some things came up. We wrote a letter the other day in reference to the circus that's coming to town, And generally, past practice has mandated that these type of things would generally come by approval of City Council. City Council would also make sure that when the clerk's office get involved,
call it. Give me about 15, 20 minutes. We're not gonna take no calls for the next 15, 20 minutes. Go ahead.
we would talk about the insurance policies that's mandated, so that if any kid falls in any type of city event, you have the proper insurance coverage. But from what we're being told most recently with a letter that was written to the Commissioner of Recreation, Commissioner Morton, he responded from the Corporation Council. You don't need to have the City Council approval to have this event held at Memorial Field. See, right away, there's the...
Wait. Is this going to be held Memorial Field or Hutchinson Field?
Yeah, where's it going to be held at?
Well,
Because the mayor did send out an email the first time.
There's 2 flyers
saying about Memorial Field and about a cleanup.
they are still
And then-
advertising it.
But I talked to the circus themselves.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they couldn't remember the name, and I said, Memorial Field? No, not Memorial Field. Hutchinson. That was the other
But
one.
they're
That was their response to me.
They're advertising
Yeah.
even as of today, Memorial Field.
There's
That's
two-
what
but there's
it
two-
is.
He
there's
just
two
sent out
flyers.
He just
Right.
sent
There's
out
2
another
flyers.
email within the last 48 hours that does say Hutchinson Field.
I heard it today,
Oh, okay.
Memorial Field on WBLS.
See,
Today.
Well, if you already paid for it, that's what it's going to be. So, yeah. All right, so we'll figure that out. But now I just want to now move
No,
on.
hold on. Because Clerk Brown was alluding to something very important, a transformation in the procedures by which approval for events has been obtained.
Exactly.
This is the second time this issue has come up,
Third,
or the third time.
the fireworks wasn't approved either.
Right.
No.
right. And neither was
And when the
slide.
bill and when the bill was sent to the city, the bill was sent back to the mayor. The mayor made the arrangements without city approval, then he has to pay the bill. It's just that simple. If
Now
you
let me play devil. Can I say something devil
Certainly.
advocate? So since I'm just gonna keep it real. Since Ernie Davis made things look easy because he had his 3. You understand what I'm saying? And just on the public.
You know what Ernie
Wait,
Davis would do?
Let me finish the question. Public perception. So where it looked like Ernie would do whatever he want, he knew he had his 3 votes, so it was going to get voted on. Even if he moved ahead of time.
Right.
Is that what we're facing now? Like Richard moving ahead of time too, and then not having the 3 people to back up the votes.
one of the things, Ernie never had 3 votes. Ernie would secretly speak to those folks and tell them what he wanted. Then he would come to the council meeting on that Tuesday and personally say, I need y'all help to get ABC done. He would just come to the meeting and ask.
Because
And
the reason I asked that, because I do know I have been at city council meetings where the event has already happened on the 10th, and the city council was voting on it on the 14th for it to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it had already happened.
Historically, I've been there for about 14 years. That has
Right.
happened consistently, not just with Ernie, but with Clinton. Sometimes things happen and it works like that. But 95% of the time, it has to be vetted through the council. It has to be vetted through the council.
This is one of the things that I'm talking about.
I said 95% of the time,
no.
and we look at any organization.
Wait, let me say what I'm going
Yes,
to say.
Go ahead.
The Universal Soul Circus coming to the city of Mount Vernon is a good thing.
And beautiful.
Right.
I don't understand why we just can't agree.
It is
I
beautiful.
mean, it's going to bring foot traffic in the city of Mount Vernon. It's going to be tax dollars in the city of Mount Vernon. And we're arguing about if this person going to approve it or that person going to approve it or what the procedure is. Why can't they just come together and say, listen, this is great for the city of Mount Vernon. Let's check and make sure what needs to be done is done and call it a day.
No, and you're right. But
So right.
You're right. You're right. But there's a I mean, just respect the process.
I understand
no
the
one is
process.
disputing the fact that they don't want it to come or that it's a great project for the city. Slide the City was a great project for the city. But when the little boy gets hurt, let's keep
Right.
it real. When the little boy gets hurt because his neck twisted coming down the hill and the city ain't got no insurance, they're suing the city because it happened on
Absolutely.
city property.
And
That's why when these things happen, the city council, when they give these orders, they say ordering the controller to pay. Not do she want to pay, ordering controller to pay. So the proper process is make sure you're covered. Because if you're not covered, now you're not protecting the
I
citizens.
agree with it. You need to
of the
make sure
city
you're
of Mount
covered.
Vernon.
I agree with that.
And
but I think
there's
there's a way to do that without having the
Publicly,
infighting to get it done.
Yeah, but Pastor Poe, listen, because I specifically raised an issue of objection, and I want to be very clear what my objection is. This is at least the second time that the mayor has circumvented the legally required procedures to make sure that events are properly insured. This I am certain about. The city charter gives the city council the sole authority to enact legislation and end. Whatever the nuances got to go through with the board, in the end, that is the power of the city council, and moreover, it's the law. So we should not, we should not constantly face situations where our executive office feels that it's necessary because of a shortage of time to go around the required procedures.
That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying if this is good for the city of Mount Vernon, why can't all parties involved
Get together
and
make it happen.
and just solve it and make it happen?
It will happen. It's very, very simple. Give us the policy, and it's going to be approved. No, who's not going to approve it? Now, I guarantee you, I'm going to go out on the limb and speak for the city council. They would not approve this. But there's no reason why we would not approve it, because it's a good thing for the citizens.
So let me ask you a question.
Maybe at Memorial Field they might not approve it, because just think about it now. There were press conferences in front of Memorial Field saying that it's unhealthy to go there. And I don't want little Joey.
The mayor had his own press conference.
I don't want little Joey to come from
Raheem.
Memorial Field and his foot start
Raheem.
to come from Memorial Field and all of a sudden his foot start turning blue because of some so-called contamination that's there. Because my understanding,
Well, the animals
they're
in the
supposed
circus
to
eat the
push
dirt.
this. They're supposed to push this stuff back,
Yeah, and put a
and then put the
against-
tin
You want
up.
me to tell you what? No, listen, I could almost guarantee you that the Department of Environmental Conservation is not approving people to go and make use of a site that it has determined is contaminated. It doesn't even make any sense.
Let me
I
ask,
cannot understand this.
So why not do it at Hutchinson Field? Just do it at Hutchinson Field. There's no issues there.
But it's two flyers floating around, so
maybe it is at Hutchinson.
Maybe it is that.
It
But,
should be at
But let me
Hutchinson.
ask the question.
Yes.
Right? Has he submitted the request to the city council for best of your knowledge? Has he submitted the request to the city council for universal soul search?
No. There was a letter. There was a letter. Listen, there was a letter sent by my deputy on March the 6th. I sent one Friday, inquiring, and it was a very let's go to heaven letter. In other words, it wasn't demanding. It was like, would you please give us the legislation so that the council, I'm writing on behalf of the council.
A genuine fleck before you, oh great
There
one.
was no malice in the letter. And we made sure, because we don't want to be controversial. So we're going to write it, because all we want to do is get the document, put it on the council, which the meeting is this Wednesday, and it would be approved. I can tell you it would be approved. The council is not going to stand by and let anything that's positive for this city go by the way because of personality. They just won't do that.
I hope not, man, because we can make some money off this.
So how does the Universal Soul, and I'm just asking a question, I don't know the answer. How does the Universal Soul Circus get to advertise a circus in the city of Mount Vernon if there's not a contract somewhere?
That's a good question.
Then he must have signed a contract.
There's a contract somewhere.
And
He probably signed a contract just like
Picari
Picari illegally signed the contract to have the building raised. I want to be clear about something. The same day that shit happened, Richard and his representatives were on TV complaining and threatening to take the court. This is while he was taking the court, the city council, for council president Griffin for signing the checks, that he refused to sign.
Right.
So this was done in full, and I know because I did.
In one day.
Trust
in
me,
one day.
I know.
From
The
Saturday.
same exact day that he was on TV accusing the council president of breaking the law by signing a check in his behalf, he had his attorney, the city corporation council do it, and that's illegal. There's no one can sign in lieu of the mayor except the council president when the mayor is incapacitated.
Which that contract is generally in the clerk's office because the clerk has to put the seal on it and say at the time of the signing of this contract, said person was indeed acting in an official capacity. And then the seal will go on it, and I would sign on top of that contract. Actually, I have all the contracts basically in the city that binds the city.
That makes the city
liable. The mayor signs most of those contracts. He signs all of them, and then they come to the clerk's office, and I would authenticate or attest that he was indeed the mayor at the time of signing.
Right. So have the clerk's office received the contract between the city and Universal Soul Service?
No, we have not.
Okay.
I want to ask you one more question. This is slightly off topic. The state of the city is a meeting that the mayor is supposed to have and a presentation to the city council in the month of March to present his vision for the city. There was some controversy last year about him having that Rebecca Turner period, but we moved past that.
Well, that was a town hall meeting.
Right.
That's what it was,
This year, regardless of what the reason was, we're not even going back and forth. He then held it downstairs at the same time as the city council. Has he ever given the presentation that was supposed to be given to the council in the month of March?
No.
Okay.
We got a statement. We received a statement from the mayor, which is technically is what the charter says, that he should give the city council a statement of his vision for the city, financial statements. But you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And we did write the mayor a letter inviting him to the meeting, and we also informed the mayor in that letter because there was a publicly scheduled public hearing on the tree ordinance, and it was publicized in the newspaper, sent to WFAS, meeting all of the meeting requirements, that it was necessary that we have to move forward with that at 7 o'clock p.m. So therefore, maybe you might want to come about 7:45. Hopefully that the public hearing would be over, but we could not just not have the public hearing and bring forth the mayor prior to that.
That was a little disturbing for me to watch. I watched both of them on TV. I'm watching the city council in the city council chambers, and then I'm watching the state of the city in the rotunda. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It just really was raggedy, and it made no sense. And these are the things I call Pastor Poe. Like, for every story I write, just so everybody knows, there's 5 to 10 stories I don't write. Like, I can literally write 5-10 stories a day. Like, and George will call me, like, why you didn't write about that? And people call me all day about that.
Word, I want everyone to know. I knew Bakari signed that contract a long time ago. Right. We all knew that shit. We gave you a pass, man. We could have had the papers online if we wanted to.
But it's just
that's right.
It gets to a point when you're speaking over and over, and you just, as sooner or later, nobody going to listen to you. You know what I'm saying? So,
on that same subject matter, I've witnessed maybe about 12, 13 State of the City address, and they went smooth. They all did.
And I heard that there was one that Ernie tried to do somewhere else, and the council, whatever council that was,
and he was told that he could not do it.
And he brought it back to the.
You're absolutely correct.
I did know
he wanted to do it someplace else.
Right. So,
but he had a corporation council that advised him properly too.
See, that's a problem too, and you know, see, therein lies the problem. Let's you hear about the Joe Spizios. This is my personal problem. So you have this guy who allegedly was a heavily funded campaign donor who threw a lot of money at the campaign, and because of that, is now in a place to say, okay, I need that person in DPW commissioner. I need that person as the this. I need that person. I need you to make me the deputy police commissioner. And in a sense, is sitting back, running the city. You understand what I'm saying? Like DPW, a lot of money and contracts come through there. You know what I'm saying? Now y'all have the IDA. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of things come through there, and that's federal funding. And Bob Marone, I'm always on his show, and the one thing he kept saying, what bothers him the most, he who controls the police department controls the city. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just like, you know, when you got, you know, people who won't switch over to your carding company start getting visits from ordinance officers about things they ain't never heard about before ever. You know what I'm saying? After they say no to your carding company. You know, you got people with DPW actually handing out your business card to businesses.
It leads to a serious...
Like, there's so many things wrong with this. You know what I'm saying? On so many different levels.
It's a serious abuse of power. I want to be very clear. I have seen documentary evidence that I take is valid, that I am persuaded is valid, that indicates that the several officers from the Mount Vernon Police Department were dispatched to the offices of the New York State Department of Labor to carry out an investigation
on Councilman Wild.
That's right. Everyone, this is this isn't your police departments are not supposed to be injected into this.
They were ordered to tow his car out of city.
This is crazy.
Parking lot.
This is exactly.
And I was with him. Now this I can speak on because I was with Andre. He got a phone call from the police because they did not want to do it. And they said, "Please move your car," because we've been ordered to move your to tow your car.
Yeah, they
like, you know what I'm saying? I can only speak on what I said. So that I know for a fact was true. A lot of things you can't take, but that I know is true. And the police officers didn't want to be put in the middle and called Andre, "Please move your car, because we don't want to have to tow. We've been ordered to tow your car."
No, I called Andre.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they came into my office, and we made sure that didn't happen. But getting back.
I know he got the call though. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, he did. He did get a phone. I mean, the same thing happened to me. I'm officially going to take care of a meeting, transacting the city's business. Thank God the city council and the controller's office decided to do what was best for the people. But I was stopped by 2 police officers, and they wouldn't let me in the mayor's office. And I said, well, why can't I go in the mayor's office? And this was a week ago. And they said, well, because we've been informed that you can't come in the mayor's office. So I just turned right around and said, okay. We went right upstairs. We changed the meeting notices. Said the meeting was moved. And we transacted 27 pieces of legislation of the people's business that needed to happen. So, and that was because the city council and the controller said the business of the people is paramount. No one is so above the law that they can stop the business of the people. So as long as I'm the clerk, I'm going to do what needs to be done to make sure that the people's business is transacted.
So let me stop you real quick. So this is your first, pretty much, appearance or in the press or whatever since the incidents happened. How are you? I know you went to the hospital. A lot of people don't know what happened. How are you health-wise? Let's start with that.
Well, first of all, thank you for asking. And to those, to the naysayers, I say to them, most of the people that I do talk to don't have medical degrees or have not passed
I haven't.
Or is not a doctor, so they're going by what they think. And I don't have a problem with that.
But I stayed in the Comfort Inn last night, so.
I don't have a problem with that. But what's most important is that God's been good to me. We are, as we speak, are recuperating. We're getting better every day. One of the problems I have is that I've always been a person that don't like to depend on anything. So I might be walking, but believe me, it's not as comfortable as it might appear because I'm a fighter. But thanks for asking. That was a terrible deal. My pastor did come and see me. He was one of the first there that day. And I have the support, and not only do I have the support of my pastor, my friends, my family, I have the support of my faith. For those that don't know, I'm also known as Deacon Brown's son, which means that in Deacon Brown's house, there was a God. And I'm going to always do what's right.
That's right.
I'm going to always do what's right for the people of Mount Vernon.
So let me now, we tried to do this. We don't always get to this point. When I've had the Lindens and Rich and everybody together, we dealing with Memorial Field. We talked about a lot of things that were wrong. Can we finish this off on any kind of a positive note? How do we go where we need to go to from here? What do we take from here? Where do we go from here?
Who's that?
Could you be more specific?
Oh, you're asking the question.
Like what I'm saying is, okay, so these things are wrong, these people are not working together. What has to happen so we can move forward? Like let's end on, like, you can complain and complain and complain all day, but when you don't at least try to come to some kind of, how do we fix it at the end? I feel like it was a waste of time. So
egos have to be left at the door. Okay. I think that the topic of this program, People Before Politics, is that what that says? People Before Politics. Yes. That's exactly what has to happen in the meetings. We have to, and Pastor Poe alluded to it. We have to leave our egos at the door and handle the people's business.
Call a please hold.
That's exactly why when we were stopped to go in that meeting, we went upstairs and handled the people's business. The people's business is paramount. We have to do that, and no one individual is going to stop the people's business from being done. Period.
What is it going to take for everybody to work together? I'm trying to, what is it going to take? At this point, you know what, and I'm going to keep it real, people don't care if the mayor's right. They don't care if Andre or the council is right. They don't care if you fell or got pushed. People just care like nothing's being done, and it's a damn shame, and when are we going to get something done? Like, when can we move forward? When can we finally move forward?
I disagree with nothing's being done.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying nothing. Well, people don't know. Like I said, all I had to do is say, well, we can't have a meeting. No, that's not happening.
So where do we
Legislation
is being
transacted. It's being done with George Brown, without George Brown, with the mayor, without the mayor, with the controller, without the controller, with particular its business is going to be handled.
Where do we go from here? Is there any words of advice or anything you can offer?
Let's keep Mount Vernon Mount Vernon. That's a good start.
That's right.
Let's keep Mount Vernon Mount Vernon. That's one of the reasons why I always say, if you cut me open, I bleed maroon and gold. The people who are from Mount Vernon, they know exactly what that means. To those who are not, what is maroon and gold? Well, that's Mount Vernon High School colors. I love the city. And when people make the proper sacrifices and love the city, Pastor Moore said this one time in one of his messages, anything you love, you'll put your money in it. I love my church, I pay my tithes and my offering because I love my church. I love nice cars, I'll buy one. I love to live in a nice place, I do it. So anything you love, you're going to put your money in. And I just don't see the love coming, and you make the I just don't see the love coming from the various bodies of government. We talk it. We talk the talk. But it's not love if I'm hurting someone that doesn't want to do something because I want them to do it. And regardless of that, even if they have a child that's deaf or blind or whatever, and I let them go because I have the authority to let them go.
That's right.
See, what we fail to realize, we're going to have to give account for all of these actions done
what you
in the flesh.
do to the least of these.
That's right.
You do to mine. So until we can be really honest about really helping people, if you want to help somebody, that same day that I was denied to come into the mayor's office for the meeting, do you know what happened that day? A couple came in from the Bronx, wanted to get married. Staff told them you couldn't get married because you didn't live in Mount Vernon. But this was my chance to be a blessing to someone else. I says, does he have a license? He get the license from here? They said, yeah. Says, when do you want to get married? Today. We took that guy in the office, married him, and he was so happy that he made me forget about I was supposed to be depressed because I didn't come into the mayor's office. My point is that if you do right and intend to do right, you're going to always conquer. It's not about me. It's not about an individual. It's about servicing the people. Some of us don't really understand what being a public servant. Public servant. We serve the public.
Absolutely. We're coming to the end of the show, but caller, you're on People Before Politics. Please state your name and your purpose for calling very briefly.
Yes, my name is Kenny Black. I'm a resident of Mount Vernon.
Hey, what's up,
What's up,
Kenny?
All right, I was listening to the show, and I know you got a nice topic going on, and you had a pastor there, and you got brothers there, and you're speaking about, what's going on in Mount Vernon as far as from a city perspective. Being that there's so many churches in Mount Vernon, and Mount Vernon is really oversaturated with churches, do we really need these elected officials to get something done if these churches were kind of doing a little more?
Many of the churches in Mount Vernon are located in Mount Vernon, but a lot of the members come from different places in the Bronx because it's harder to open a church there than it is to find a storefront here in Mount Vernon. So what happens is people are bussed in, so it looks like we have a whole bunch of churches in Mount Vernon full of Mount Vernonites, but that's not what it is.
No, I'm just saying, if the churches are located in Mount, shouldn't those churches be doing something for Mount Vernon?
They should, but once again, when you're not from Mount Vernon, but I can come across the border in Mount Vernon to open a church, I'm not vested in Mount Vernon. That's just my location. It's
okay,
not
well
my
let's
heart.
let's deal with the churches that are located in Mount Vernon that have an invested interest in Mount Vernon. Mm-hmm. I've been a resident of Mount Vernon for over 30 years, and I hear a lot of talk and a lot of things going on. But I don't see them addressing the real problem. I've been in a couple of the churches, and I hear the talk, and I hear the quotes from the scripture and the recital, but I rarely hear anything that's addressing these youth and getting their education straight in terms of knowing who they are and knowing their place in the Bible.
I think and I can't speak for every church, I can speak for mine. Scholarship is something that we always lift up at Greater Centennial. We want to make sure that all of our youth who are in school go to college somewhere or trade school or get some kind of
I'm not talking. I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off, but I know the time is short. But I'm not talking about that type of education. I'm talking about the true education, because going to school is not educating our kids. It's a babysitting institution, because it's not the truth. None of the stuff that they're teaching is going to help them, and it's not the truth. We're talking about real truth, where their place is, and it even on a level of theology. Where do we fit in the Bible, and who are we? We got the white Jesus. We got the promotion of everything white, even in the church. And our kids can't identify it, and most of the people are not really identifying with it because it just doesn't appear to them that we're anywhere when thought of when it comes to this, whether it's this country or whether it's biblically or anywhere else. How are you guys addressing that and letting them know that we were a part of the history of the Bible and who are they in the Bible?
I think for me, I highly lift up our blackness in Scripture, because if you look, we are totally in Scripture everywhere as black people, and that for those who need Jesus to be white, okay. For those of us that need Jesus to be black, okay. Because he's relatable to all of us. But when you look where Jesus is from, you're not going to find blue eyes and blonde hair.
That's right.
That's just not. The Bible talks about his feet was bronze and his hair was like wool. Right. So that doesn't describe any Caucasian that I know. But it talks about who we are as a rich heritage, and our heritage is found in Scripture. And if you look at the Israelites and their journey and all of those things, it mirrors the journey of African American people. Right. That we have liberation in the Bible, that there is liberation theology, that all of us can be free and should be free. We got to fight for that freedom, and like you said, we have to continue to educate our youth about those things. But I'm one who always lifts those things up.
And I understand, and I can appreciate that, but is there an agenda to get all the churches on one page? Because we want the kids to stop killing. We want the kids to have self-respect. We want the kids to have all these things, but if they don't have knowledge of self and knowledge of any of these changes that they need to make,
you know what I'm saying? I got to cut you to your last question. I got like 2-3 minutes before I end the show. So,
and I don't believe that all the churches may have the same agenda. Maybe some of the churches can come together and have that agenda, but I don't know if all the churches can come together to have that agenda. And we got to make sure the right people are teaching those things so it won't get lost in anything else.
Thank you, brother. I definitely appreciate all your support.
Thank you, brother.
No show.
No doubt. Yeah, watch y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all keep moving.
No doubt.
Thank you.
We coming to the
I appreciate the brother for answering my questions too.
Oh,
Be blessed.
Definitely. And that's what it's all about, trying to, strike conversation and get these conversations going. Of course, everything we talked about here, we could be talking about for hours and hours on future episodes, because there's just no getting it all done at one time. Last word, Dr. Bob, you got to wrap up anything? Brief.
Well, I mean, I will say with respect to the church, our scholars have documented a serious fissure within the church between those who have gravitated to a more Eurocentric ideal of God, but certainly the A.M.E. church and many others have actually emerged from a more Afrocentric tradition of biblical scholarship and interpretation that recognizes the importance of blackness in our religious worship and approach by invoking that phrase is something like God, Ethiopia, you know the passage, and God shall stretch forth his hand and to Ethiopia, something like this, which historically was latched onto. So, I mean, I just say this to say that not everyone is trying to foist on black children, in particular, a foreign notion of God, which is arguable will do damage to one's psyche. So,
last words, very, very briefly.
Well, the church or the politician can't do the parent's job. The parent's job is to raise their children, teach them properly.
Let them lead the way.
If that's done in the household, the problem is we got too many babies raising babies. But we can't blame the church for that. Again, like I said, I grew up in Deacon Brown's house and Daddy's house. You stayed in a boy's place until you became a man. If you it wasn't a negotiation of what you're gonna eat, where you're gonna go. Daddy said it, you did it. We need more daddies or mamas being daddies, making our children understand there are penalties and consequences for our actions.
Pastor Pogue, wrap up for closing words.
Once again, just good to be here, and it's good spirited conversation, and I just continue to pray for the city of Mount Vernon and citizens of Mount Vernon, that God would just show up real in a real way for us to move forward.
I think I wanna thank Pastor Poe for coming on. He's always welcome to come on the show because I think good conversation, and dialogue, for us to move forward and make Mount Vernon the torchlight for black people throughout Westchester. I think a lot of times we don't know our responsibility and what our responsibility is, not to just each other in the 4x4 square miles, but to black people throughout Westchester County and throughout the nation, because we are the only city that is completely run by people of color. And that is very important. We don't realize that we have a controller that is the longest black person to be in the controller seat in history in New York State. So we have a lot of history of black governance here in Mount Vernon, and to continue that, we need to be direct on the political process and how it governs. We should not be a rich city in culture and people, but be poor. But the city is actually poor because we lack the institutions, and we can't blame the white man for that. We can only blame ourselves. So I really think this this conversation was needed, and it was good, and more conversations need to happen, and we need to fill the political potholes that's in our city. Y'all laughing.
Fill those.
Because I'm using good words today. But fill the political potholes and
The real ones too.
right, and the real
Well, I
ones.
was gonna say he spazzed out because he had to just get.
Yeah, I just paid $100 for a bent rim, so I understand. But I mean, we can do it. I don't understand. I don't understand what's the problem. We can do it, and we could be something great, and then we could latch on to other black cities like Newark and Philadelphia and all those areas and start building trade and commerce. That's what it's all about. See, that's the big picture here. But we have to, and also we're not going to stop. And I say it all the time, and I said it in the church. You can't say you're going to stop the gangbanging with the youth when the adults are gangbanging themselves. So the only time we're going to change the youth's minds when they stop seeing us gangbang.
You could be doing anything else right now, but you decide to ride with us, and we greatly appreciate it. This is Black Westchester Magazine presents People Before Politics every Sunday, 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com.
22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And I'm not afraid to say it.